This is Justin AMZN on Tuesday, November 6th, 2018, and it looks like we're getting a little bit more of a retest right back into 1617 this morning, pre-market, and looking for a bounce from here, staying above the triangle we made yesterday, broke out of. This is just a retest. We had a little retest here, another one here, came almost back to 1617, and this pre-market really did come back into that price. So I'd be buying here at the open. And very quickly, it moved up, actually really quickly. In the first half hour of the day, it moved all the way up with a high of 1665, which is 27 cents away from the line that we got. So up here is where I'd be taking profits, and I would be reversing because this is a retest of this consolidation that we had from Friday. And as you can see, it starts to pull back. There's not a lot of bullishness. It's pulling back a little more. This looks like some sort of rounded double top that paused here, broke down, retested. This should roll over, right? It just has to come back down. Well, it kind of does a double bottom thing and comes back up again to this neckline. And then from there, it actually pushes up a little bit, right back up to this high. And really the level we're at here is the lows that we had from Friday. So that's really, the level that we got back up into. So definitely would have been possible to be getting into puts here. And then if you didn't exit here, exiting here, and then reloading when it comes back up. And we can look at the options to see how that would have worked out. Then from here, we start to actually break down. So this rally doesn't continue higher. Stair steps and really small candles that you could have easily bracket traded, and these ended up breaking down. And that actually really broke down again, almost back into the 1617 price today, and then it bounced again. So it's, it didn't quite get down low enough where I was looking to buy it, but came back up, looked like it was going to retest here, have one little candle, one little bearish candle amidst all these bullish candles, but it just continued back up. So this value, there's not really anything clear from today or yesterday that it would have came back up to this level. This one makes sense. If you were buying here somehow and exiting here at these pivots, that would have worked. Yesterday's pivot, that would have worked. And then for it to continue, not what I was expecting it to do here. And then it did actually come back down right into the same level, kind of a retest. So we're definitely in this no man's land. And we got this wider range that we got up through, stayed above, broke back down, sort of recovered, broke down again, but really nicely moving between these lines in the last, yesterday and today, and then going back to Thursday last week where we moved up back in here. So be really interesting to see if we're going to actually break out. Zooming out like this, I'm seeing some lower highs here, seeing some higher lows here. So we're definitely making a bigger triangle. And we just may have to wait and see a little bit. On the daily, you can see there's a little bit of consolidation here in this no man's land. We're within this high wave candle. And really tomorrow, if we gap down and take out today's low with our gap, I mean, it could really totally just break down. Or we can do another inside day or another day that's just stair stepping here sideways. The level we've got above us, the 1665.27, we've only got a few candles that touched it. We got this really nice consolidation in here. And then we had this breakout that just barely, didn't even retest back to that line and stayed up. So really only a couple times have we really moved above this nicely. We moved above it on Friday and then came right back through. We broke down to it here and stayed up and then gapped down with earnings. So I just see this as a really strong level, this consolidation, really strong level, where there's still lots of sellers. The 21 is here. That's the only thing I could think is what could pull it up a little bit. And if we were to do sort of a smaller double top here into 21 and then break down, any of those options, make sense for it to move lower. And if it wants to move higher, I mean, we can look for setups there as well. So if we zoom back in on the day, and if we're looking at buying down here, now it did give a really nice lower wick here, but that would have been in the first 30 seconds, a minute, whatever it was. I didn't look at the 1 minute chart to see what was happening here. But you could have been buying at that level. So here's the calls. I'm looking at the 1,700 calls expired this Friday, and those had around $1 risk if you got in at if you got in as it's moving back up through the open price of 645, because it came down to 525 but didn't come back down there again until late in the day. But you could have been getting in 650 by 550, hoping that low was going to hold, and it did. That would have been a really nice move, but you probably would have had to have a little bit more than $100 risk. Now, if we fast forward to the double bottom in here, these levels are practically the same. So the low here is 785, the low here is 780. So you could have the same setup, 8 by 7 here, and made it up to 10. That's 2R. Or here, made it up to 10 or 11, or maybe a little more. So that's 3R. So after that, it just broke down, but let's go look and see what we could have done with some puts in here. The only other place you could have been buying was way down here, which is actually lower than the open price. So that would be a reason to watch this open. If it comes back down to 525, get in 525 by 425 or something like that. And the lows that I put in here were 5 and 505. So that trade would have worked and would have made, would have gone from, 5 up to 8, something like that. That would have been 3R had you held. And like I said, with the pivot that came in here, this pivot looked like it was matching the double bottom. That's on the stock. But if you look at the option, we didn't come down this far with our double bottom in here. We actually came down. The double bottom price came down into about 8. We made it up to 8 here. So like I was saying, if you're looking at the stock and seeing this move right here, these 5 candles right into this level, it's moved right back up into pivot. That's fine on the stock. But the option is actually looking for it to move even higher to come back into the pivot price on the option. So just want to make sure this is clear, because it highlights what's going on when the options move, when the charts move. Okay, something got stuck for a minute. Looks like it's back. Okay, so obviously they're not identical, but here's the call with the rally, and then a rollover, double bottom, moves back up into this neckline and breaks down. That's the calls. And then the stock, it's similar, but where we have a pivot here, we came back up into the double bottom here. But if you look at the time that we're at, like 230 over here, the 230 price moved actually above the double bottom lows, which we were just touching and getting into on the option. So that's something to pay attention to. It just totally highlights that something is being lost with the Greeks. And as long as you keep it really simple, that you're going to trade the options into a previous option price as a target, that would have worked. Had you done that based on the stock, you would have been out early. You would have been getting out here because it made it into that pivot. So this would have been at like 150. So the 150 candle, the high is 690. So if you got in at 5 and you held till 690, you didn't even make 2R. But had you held up to 790, that would have been 2R. And that would have been right in line with the pivots on the options. So I don't have lines like this on the options. We're mostly looking at the ones that are weekly. And so I'd be redrawing a lot of lines. Sometimes they're handy, but sometimes they're not. The other thing to look at in this trade is shorting up here. When we come into this price so close, it's the 855 candle. If you look straight below here, the 855 candle, that's the one that had the low of 422. And maybe there wasn't a reason to be selling up here, or maybe you just tightened up your stop and then got trailed out. But if you look at the price again, so this price at 422, now over here, as we move back up, we didn't quite get into that price. We're still off by a little bit. But the options, they actually come back into the mid fours. So whereas we were down to 422, something below that could still be your stop, whether it's 4 or 350 or 375, something like that. But if you add $1 back in and that's your entry, it's possible that some of those would have worked in this whole area on the puts. And then it ended up rolling over. And if we look at the option to see, okay, well, let's see when we're at this price. So that's this candle at 110, the 110 here. The high is 6. Now, if I had just gotten in at, 475, well, let's just say 5. Let's say we did 5 by 4 on this option, and the data in the daily is saying, okay, get out here, it's going to roll over. That's a retracement of a pivot. Well, that would have been, sorry, my eyes just jumped. I'm looking at the wrong one. This area, buying through here, you could have done at any point along this rally, and there wasn't a clear place to get in there other than it just came back up into this consolidation. Even as this starts to roll over, it barely moves up. In the grand scheme of things, it barely moves up, within $1, giving you more opportunity to load up, or had you taken a smaller, half position or something, could have gotten a little bit more because of this consolidation. And then once that broke down here, that was, let's see, here. I think more so the 1 o'clock. Probably 1 o'clock, something like that. That candle maybe starting to break out. So it worked on. It shows that it's breaking out or breaking down on the 5-minute stock, but it doesn't really show that on the option. But this came down again, looking for a target in here. Didn't quite get to the line. Didn't quite get to the line up here. You could have been setting up a target here, and even with the 1550 puts, you could have gotten in at 5 and a stop at 8, or a target at 8. That would have been 3R. So definitely out. There's definitely opportunities out there. It's just a matter of studying and figuring out, well, where's this opportunity going to come from? The only other thing I wanted to point out is if you do a screen grab of something like this and see the shape, really, really similarly inverted here, and then really similar here. One key difference is we came all the way back down to the lows of 5 and 505, and the low of the open was 525. So all those are really close together in terms of the pattern, and we're still a little bit off from the lows here to the low here. So, just take a look, match these up, and see how things work. This one looks cleaner as a reversal or as a negative, inverted. Basically upside down, mirrored of this chart. And this one, you don't, I guess most of it's there, but there's a few things that just seem off a little bit. Like we were staying really steady up here for a while, and all the while we were losing some premium here. So, get familiar with this and figure out how these move and how to trade them. And we'll continue to look at it every day. Hope you enjoy this video. This is Justin AMZN. Thanks.